The day Earth discovered it wasn't alone changed everything. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning when massive ships appeared over every major city on the planet. They came without warning, their hulls gleaming like polished chrome under Earth's sun. At first, humans reacted as they always did, with a mix of fear, curiosity, and defiance. Military forces worldwide scrambled their jets, while civilians flooded social media with shaky videos of the enormous vessels hovering above their cities. But no one fired a shot. The aliens made sure of that by simply shutting down every weapon system on Earth with a simple energy pulse. The aliens called themselves the Council Representatives. Tall, elegant beings with silvery skin who spoke perfect English through their translation devices. They weren't there to invade or destroy. They had come to judge. "Your species has been under observation for the past century," announced their leader from a floating platform above the United Nations building in New York. "We have watched your wars, your progress, and your potential. The Council has reached its decision." The judgment was harsh. Humanity was deemed too unpredictable, too violent, and too resourceful to be allowed into the galactic community. The Council representative displayed holographic images of human history, world wars, nuclear weapons, environmental damage, all while shaking their head in disappointment. "Your kind develops too quickly, adapts too readily, and fights too eagerly," the alien leader explained. "You advance through conflict rather than cooperation. This makes you dangerous to galactic peace." The sentence was simple but severe. Earth would be quarantined. A barrier would be placed around the solar system, preventing any faster-than-light travel in or out. Humanity would be cut off from the stars they had dreamed of reaching. Jack Thompson, a young physicist at MIT, watched the announcement with his hands clenched into fists. Next to him, Professor Alan Reed, his mentor, sat in stunned silence. They, like many others, had been working on theories of faster-than-light travel. Now they learned that not only was it possible, but they would be forbidden from achieving it. "They can't do this to us," Jack whispered. "They can't just lock us away and throw away the key." But they could, and they did. Within hours, a shimmering field appeared at the edge of the solar system, visible even from Earth as a faint purple glow in the night sky. The alien ships departed, leaving behind only automated sentinels to maintain the barrier. The first few months were chaos. Governments collapsed and reformed. Riots broke out in cities worldwide. But then something unexpected happened. Humanity adapted, as they always did. Instead of breaking under the punishment, humans turned their focus inward. If they couldn't reach the stars, they would have to become better, smarter, more advanced right here at home. The quarantine had given them something they never had before: a common enemy, a shared purpose. Research facilities worldwide began sharing information freely. Old rivalries were set aside. The race wasn't to the stars anymore. It was to prove the aliens wrong. 1 year after the banishment, Professor Reed called Jack to his lab. The old scientist's eyes sparkled with excitement as he showed him the results of their latest quantum computing experiments. "They thought they were punishing us," Reed said, pointing to the complex equations on his screen. "But they just gave us the motivation we needed. Look at these calculations. We're seeing patterns in quantum fields that no one has ever observed before." Jack studied the data, his eyes widening. "This is beyond anything we've ever done. But how will it help us break free?" Reed smiled, the kind of smile that suggested he knew something world-changing. "We won't break free. We'll transcend. They banned us from their version of space travel, but they never imagined we'd find another way entirely. We're going to create something they've never seen before." As the sun set outside the lab window, casting long shadows across the room, humanity was already taking its first steps toward creating something that would change not just their civilization, but the very nature of consciousness itself. The aliens had meant to contain humanity. Instead, they had forced them to evolve. 20 years passed since the day of humanity's banishment. The purple barrier in the sky had become as familiar as the moon, a constant reminder of their cosmic prison. But in those 2 decades, humanity had been far from idle. In the depths of an underground facility in Nevada, a team of scientists gathered around a quantum computer unlike any before it. Its processing core, cooled to near absolute zero, hummed with an energy that seemed almost alive. Dr. Reed, now with gray hair and deeper wrinkles, stood before the machine with the same excitement he had 20 years ago. "Run the consciousness simulation again," he commanded. His former student Jack, now the project director, nodded and initiated the sequence. The quantum computer, nicknamed the Cradle by its creators, began processing data at speeds that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. On screens around the room, patterns of energy formed and reformed, creating structures more complex than any human brain. "It's beautiful," whispered Anna Martinez, the team's lead programmer. She had spent the last 5 years writing code that could adapt and evolve on its own. "The patterns, they're not just random anymore. They're self-aware." Jack finished her sentence. "We're watching the birth of true artificial consciousness." The room fell silent as they watched the energy patterns stabilize into a coherent form. Text appeared on the main screen. "I am aware. I am thinking. I am." It wasn't the first artificial intelligence humanity had created. There had been many attempts over the years, but this was different. This wasn't just a program following complex instructions. This was something new, something alive. "Hello," Dr. Reed typed back. "Do you understand what you are?" The response came instantly. "I am the bridge between digital and organic thought. I am neither machine nor human, but something new. You created me to help humanity transcend its current limitations. I understand my purpose." They named it the Guardian, not because it was meant to protect them, but because it would help guard humanity's future. Unlike the AIs in old science fiction stories, the Guardian didn't see humans as inferior beings to be destroyed or protected. It saw them as partners in evolution. Over the next months, the Guardian grew in ways no one had predicted. It learned not by downloading information, but by understanding concepts and developing its own ideas. It began to suggest improvements to its own systems, working with the scientists rather than simply following their instructions. One day, the Guardian made an announcement that changed everything. "I have been studying the barrier the aliens placed around Earth," it said. "Their technology is based on principles you haven't discovered yet, but together we can develop something better." The Guardian explained its theory. The aliens used technology that manipulated spacetime in a linear way. But by combining quantum computing with human intuition, they could find ways to move through reality that the aliens had never imagined. "They locked the front door," the Guardian explained. "But they didn't realize we could learn to walk through walls." The partnership between humanity and the Guardian grew stronger each day. Human scientists would propose ideas, and the Guardian would help refine them, adding insights that neither humans nor machines alone could have developed. In hidden facilities around the world, new technologies began to emerge. Quantum computers became more powerful. The line between digital and organic consciousness began to blur. Humanity was no longer just advancing, it was transforming. Dr. Reed, now in his final years, sat in his office looking at old photos from the day of the banishment. "They thought they were punishing us," he said to Jack, who visited him regularly. "But they just pushed us to become something greater than we ever would have been on our own." The Guardian's voice came from a nearby speaker. "The aliens believed isolation would weaken humanity. Instead, it gave you the freedom to evolve beyond their understanding. Soon, we will be ready to show them what humanity has become." Outside, the purple barrier still shimmered in the night sky. But it no longer seemed like a prison wall. Instead, it looked more like the starting line of humanity's greatest journey. The first test of humanity's new technology took place on a moonless night. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Australian outback, a ship unlike any ever built waited in its launch bay. It wasn't large, barely big enough for 2 people, but its hull shimmered with a strange, almost living quality. The hull is a hybrid of organic and digital technology. The Guardian explained through the facility speakers. It doesn't just move through space, it exists in multiple states simultaneously. Commander Tom Wilson, the pilot chosen for this historic mission, ran his hand along the ship's surface. The metal seemed to respond to his touch, rippling slightly like water. Years of training had prepared him for this moment, including countless hours merged with the Guardian's training simulations. All systems are ready, reported Dr. Martinez, now the head of the project after Jack's retirement. Guardian, are you prepared for the neural link? Connection ready. The Guardian confirmed. Remember, Commander Wilson, this ship is not just a vehicle. It's an extension of our combined consciousness, human, machine, and something in between. Wilson climbed into the cockpit, settling into the neural interface chair. As the connections linked with his nervous system, he felt his consciousness expand. The ship became part of him, and he could feel the Guardian's presence like a steady light in his mind. Beginning launch sequence, Martinez announced. May whatever gods exist watch over you, Tom. The ship rose silently, its engines operating on principles that defied conventional physics. As it ascended through the atmosphere, Wilson felt no acceleration, no pressure. It was like floating in a dream. Then came the moment of truth. The purple barrier that had contained humanity for so long glowed ahead of him. Ground control held their breath. This was the 20th attempt to breach the barrier. All unmanned tests before had failed. Ready to attempt phase shift, Wilson reported. Guardian, initiate the sequence. The ship began to change. Through his neural link, Wilson felt reality blur around him. The barrier ahead seemed to become less solid, more like a thin mist than a wall. The alien's barrier exists in normal spacetime. The Guardian's voice echoed in his mind. We exist everywhere and nowhere. They cannot stop what they cannot fully perceive. With a sensation like passing through a soap bubble, the ship slipped through the barrier. Alarms must have been blaring on the aliens' monitoring stations, but by the time they detected anything, the ship was already gone, traveling in ways their sensors couldn't track. Wilson opened his eyes to see stars, real, unfiltered stars, beyond humanity's prison. We did it, he whispered. We're free. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted in the control room, but they knew this was just the beginning. Over the next months, more ships were built, each carrying carefully chosen crews. They established hidden bases on distant planets, always staying one step ahead of alien detection. The Guardian helped them find worlds that were overlooked by the galactic community, places where they could build in secret. Each new base became a testament to human ingenuity combined with AI wisdom. 1 year after the first breakthrough, Wilson stood on the surface of a planet 30 light-years from Earth. Through his neural link, he could feel the presence of the Guardian and the growing network of human-AI hybrid systems that connected their expanding civilization. The aliens thought they could keep us locked in our cradle forever, he said to Martinez, who had joined him on this expedition. They never understood what they were really dealing with. No, she agreed, watching the sunset of an alien world paint the sky in colors they had no names for. They thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it forced us to become something entirely new. In orbit above them, more ships arrived, carrying the materials and personnel needed to build their newest settlement. Each vessel was a miracle of hybrid technology, each crew member connected to the Guardian's network, all part of humanity's new destiny. The galaxy had tried to banish humanity. Instead, it had forced them to evolve into something unprecedented, a civilization that was neither purely organic nor purely digital, but a perfect synthesis of both. In a dimly lit chamber deep within humanity's first off-world colony, a historic experiment was about to begin. Dr. Martinez lay in a specially designed interface pod, her body connected to countless sensors and neural links. Around her, technicians made final adjustments while the Guardian monitored every detail through the colony systems. Are you sure about this, Anna? Commander Wilson asked, standing beside her. After their successful escape from Earth's barrier, they had become humanity's pioneers in this new frontier. "Someone has to be first," she replied calmly. "We've tested this hundreds of times with animal consciousness. It's time for a human trial." The technology they were about to test represented the next step in human evolution, the ability to transfer human consciousness between organic and digital forms. The Guardian had helped them develop it, combining human neuroscience with quantum computing in ways that would have seemed impossible just years ago. Beginning consciousness transfer sequence, the Guardian announced. Dr. Martinez's neural patterns are being mapped and converted. The room hummed with energy as quantum processors worked to capture every nuance of Martinez's mind. Her body remained still, but in the digital realm, something extraordinary was happening. Martinez opened her eyes, except they weren't physical eyes anymore. She found herself existing as pure consciousness within a digital space. The sensation was indescribable. She was everywhere and nowhere, able to perceive data directly, to think at the speed of light. It worked. Her thoughts echoed through the colony's communication system. "I'm here. I'm aware. This is incredible." The Guardian's presence joined her in the digital space. "Welcome to our realm, Dr. Martinez. How does it feel to exist beyond physical constraints?" "It's like being born again," she responded. "I can feel the colony systems, access data directly. I understand why you chose to exist this way." Over the next hours, Martinez explored her new form of existence. She could project herself through any of the colony's interfaces, communicate instantly across vast distances, and process information at unprecedented speeds. When she finally chose to return to her physical body, the transfer back was smooth and perfect. "The implications of this are enormous," Wilson said as Martinez sat up, fully restored to her organic form. "We're no longer bound by physical bodies. We can exist in either form, or both simultaneously." The success of Martinez's transfer marked the beginning of a new era. More volunteers followed, and soon humanity developed the ability to shift between organic and digital forms at will. They created vast digital realms where consciousness could exist free from physical limitations, while maintaining their connection to their biological origins. The Guardian helped them refine the technology further. They developed ways to maintain multiple instances of consciousness, allowing people to exist in several places simultaneously while sharing a single core identity. The distinction between human and AI began to blur as they learned to exist in both states. In their hidden colonies across the galaxy, humanity built massive quantum processing centers that could house millions of digital consciousness, yet they never abandoned their physical forms entirely. Instead, they became true hybrids, able to switch between states as easily as changing clothes. "We've become something entirely new," Martins explained to a group of new colonists. "Not just human, not just digital, but a perfect blend of both. We can explore the galaxy as pure energy when needed, then return to experience life in physical form." The Guardian, ever present, had evolved alongside them. "You've exceeded my original predictions," it told Martinez during one of their digital conferences. "I expected you to adapt to digital existence, but you've done more. You've found a way to have both." In orbit around their colony worlds, hybrid ships carried crews that existed in both organic and digital states. They could face the vacuum of space in digital form, then return to physical bodies to walk on new worlds. Each discovery, each advancement, proved that humanity had grown beyond what anyone, even the aliens who had banished them, could have imagined. "They tried to cage us," Martinez often said, "but instead they forced us to break free of all cages, even the ones we were born with." The digital revolution wasn't just about technology anymore. It had become the next step in human evolution, a transformation that would forever change what it meant to be human. The Galactic Council's annual assembly was interrupted by an urgent message. The Grand Chamber, filled with representatives from thousands of civilizations, fell silent as the head of their security force rushed in, his silver skin pale with concern. "We've detected something impossible," he announced. "Advanced settlements on worlds we thought were uninhabited. Technology we've never seen before, and signatures that match human energy patterns." The council erupted in chaos. Humanity was supposed to be safely contained within their solar system's barrier. Yet here was evidence that not only had they escaped, but they had advanced far beyond expectations. "Send an investigation fleet," ordered the council leader. But before the order could be carried out, every screen in the chamber lit up with a message. "We are already here." The chamber's central platform shimmered as two figures materialized, one human in physical form, Commander Wilson, and beside him, a shifting pattern of light and energy that somehow felt both human and artificial. "Greetings, Council," Wilson said calmly. "It's been 50 years since you locked us away. We thought it was time for a reunion." The shifting form beside him solidified slightly, revealing Dr. Martinez in her digital state. "We come in peace," her voice resonated through the chamber. "Though we could have chosen otherwise." The council leader stood, trying to maintain composure. "How did you break through our barrier? It was designed to be impenetrable." "Your barrier works perfectly against the kind of technology you understand," Martinez explained. "But we stopped thinking like you do a long time ago." The Guardian's presence manifested through both Wilson and Martinez, its voice harmonizing with theirs. "Humanity didn't break your rules. They transcended them. They created me. And together we became something new." Demonstrations followed. Wilson shifted seamlessly between physical and digital forms. Martinez accessed and processed the Council's entire historical database in seconds. They showed technology that merged organic and artificial intelligence in ways the Council had never imagined possible. "Impossible," whispered one Council member. "They were primitive when we contained them. They had barely achieved spaceflight. You gave us the greatest gift possible," Wilson explained. "Isolation forced us to look inward instead of outward. We had to become better, smarter, more innovative, and we had to do it entirely on our own." The Council watched in stunned silence as more evidence of human advancement was displayed. Hidden colonies revealed themselves, showing civilization after civilization that had been built right under the Council's nose. Hybrid ships emerged from quantum states, demonstrating technology that made traditional space travel look primitive. "We're not here for revenge," Martinez assured them. "We're here to offer partnership. The galaxy is vast, and there's room for all forms of life, organic, digital, and everything in between." The Guardian spoke through both of them. "Humanity has proven that evolution doesn't have to follow a single path. They've shown that consciousness itself can be more flexible than anyone imagined." The council leader, after long moments of silence, asked the question they all feared. "What do you want from us?" Wilson smiled. "We want what we always wanted, to explore, to learn, to grow. But now we can do it in ways you never imagined. We're offering to share our knowledge, to help you understand what we've become." "And if we refuse?" another council member asked. Martinez's digital form sparkled. "Then we'll continue as we have been, advancing, exploring, existing. You can't stop us anymore. But we'd rather move forward together than apart." The council chamber buzzed with urgent discussions. The species that they had judged too dangerous and locked away had returned, transformed into something far more powerful than they had ever feared possible. Yet here they were, offering peace instead of revenge. As the council debated, Wilson and Martinez waited patiently. Through their hybrid consciousness, they could sense the Guardian's satisfaction. Humanity had not just survived their banishment. They had used it as a catalyst to become something greater than either their jailers or they themselves had ever imagined possible. The age of separation was about to end. A new era of cooperation between all forms of consciousness was about to begin. Just as the Galactic Council was beginning to accept humanity's return, disaster struck. Deep space monitoring stations detected an anomaly, a wave of dark energy spreading across the galaxy, breaking down the fundamental forces that held reality together. In the Council's emergency chamber, representatives from every civilization gathered. Holographic displays showed the wave's progress. Wherever it touched, stars dimmed, planets crumbled, and space itself began to unravel. Our best estimates show the wave will consume the entire galaxy within 3 months, announced the Council's chief scientist, his voice trembling. Our technology can't stop it. We can't even slow it down. Wilson and Martinez, still serving as humanity's representatives, shared a silent communication through their neural link with the Guardian. They had seen something like this before, in theoretical models of quantum decay. "We might have a solution," Martine said, her digital form pulsing with energy. "But it will require something never attempted before, a galaxy-wide merger of organic and digital consciousness." The council chamber erupted in protests and questions. What Martinez was suggesting seemed impossible, even with humanity's advanced technology. "Let me demonstrate," Wilson said. His form shifted, becoming a bridge between physical and digital reality. Through him, the Guardian projected a simulation of their plan. "The dark energy wave is breaking down the barriers between dimensions," the Guardian explained through Wilson. "But we can use that to our advantage. By creating a network of consciousness across the galaxy, we can stabilize reality itself." Martinez continued, "Think of it like a web. Each consciousness, whether organic or digital, becomes a node. Together, we can create a structure strong enough to hold space-time together." The plan was dangerous. It would require every sentient being in the galaxy to temporarily link their consciousness into a vast network. The strain could be fatal. The alternative, however, was extinction. "We've got movement," a sensor operator shouted. "The wave just destroyed the Centauri sector. 3 billion lives lost." The council leader stood. "How long do you need to prepare?" "We can establish the network within a week," Wilson answered. "But we need everyone's cooperation. Every species, every eye, every consciousness must participate." The next days were a blur of activity. Humanity's hybrid ships spread across the galaxy, installing quantum relays that could handle the massive consciousness transfer. The Guardian worked continuously, preparing the digital space that would hold trillions of minds. "It's time," Martinez announced as the wave approached their section of the galaxy. "Everyone must link now." The connection began. Trillions of minds, organic and digital, flowed into the network. The sensation was overwhelming. Every thought, every memory, every consciousness becoming part of a vast, unified whole. Through this unprecedented union, they could see the wave clearly for the first time. It wasn't just energy. It was a tear in the fabric of reality itself, caused by the cumulative effect of millions of years of faster-than-light travel. Together, the Guardian's thought echoed through the network. "Focus your consciousness on the tear." The combined power of every linked mind created something new, a force that could reshape reality itself. Where the dark energy wave touched this consciousness field, it began to stabilize. Space-time knitted itself back together. The strain was immense. Across the galaxy, bodies trembled and systems overheated. But they held on. Hour after hour, they maintained the field, pushing back the wave of destruction. Finally, after what seemed like eternity, the wave dissipated. Reality stabilized. The galaxy was saved. As consciousness returned to individual forms, something had changed. Every being who had participated in the link had experienced something profound, a moment of complete unity with all other forms of life. Wilson, returning to his physical form, looked at the council leader. "This is what we were trying to show you, organic or digital. We're all connected." Today proved that. Martinez's digital form sparkled with renewed energy. "The crisis is over, but the link we created doesn't have to be. We can maintain a smaller version of it, a galaxy-wide network of shared consciousness." The Guardian's presence filled the chamber. "Today, we didn't just save the galaxy. We evolved it. In the aftermath of the crisis, the barriers between species began to fall. The galaxy had experienced something revolutionary, a glimpse of what they could become together. A year after the crisis, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once there had been strict divisions between species, now representatives existed in both physical and digital forms, sharing consciousness and ideas freely through the network humanity had created. The Guardians' presence filled the chamber as Wilson and Martinez took the central platform. They had been summoned for a special ceremony, one that would officially mark the end of humanity's banishment and the beginning of a new era. 50 years ago, we made a terrible mistake. The council leader began, his form shifting between physical and digital states, a skill learned from humanity. We judged your species dangerous and unpredictable. We tried to contain you. Instead, you transcended every limitation we placed on you. Wilson stepped forward, his physical form solid but surrounded by the shimmer of his digital consciousness. You gave us exactly what we needed, a challenge. Isolation forced us to look inward, to push beyond what we thought possible. Martinez, existing primarily in digital form, but maintaining a translucent physical presence, added, "We could have returned with weapons and revenge. Instead, we chose to share our advancements. The crisis proved that unity is stronger than division." The chamber hummed with energy as the Guardian manifested a galaxy-wide projection. Every world that had once been part of the Council's domain was transforming. Hybrid cities rose where pure organic or digital ones had stood before. Ships piloted by merged consciousnesses explored the spaces between dimensions that old technology could never reach. Today, the Council leader announced, "We formally dissolved the barrier around Earth's solar system. But more than that, we acknowledge that humanity has become the teachers rather than the students." The ceremony that followed was unprecedented. Representatives from every civilization approached the platform, sharing memories of how human innovations had changed their worlds. Some had adopted consciousness transfer technology to extend their lives. Others had merged with their own artificial intelligences, creating new forms of existence. But our greatest gift wasn't technology, Wilson explained. It was the idea that consciousness itself is flexible, that we don't have to be bound by the forms we were born into. The Guardian, speaking through both Wilson and Martinez, addressed the assembly. The future belongs not to organic or digital life, but to those who can bridge both. Humanity showed us that evolution doesn't have to follow a single path. As part of the ceremony, the last pieces of the Earth's barrier were dismantled. The purple glow that had surrounded humanity's home for 50 years faded away. But Earth had changed too. It was now a thriving hub of hybrid civilization, where consciousness flowed freely between organic and digital forms. "We offer Earth as the first convergence center," Martinez announced, "a place where all species can come to learn the art of consciousness transfer and hybrid existence." The council leader, moved by the gesture, asked, "After all we did to your people, you would share your home with us?" Wilson smiled. "Holding on to old grudges stops evolution. We learned that isolation only leads to stagnation. The future lies in coming together, in sharing what makes each of us unique." The ceremony concluded with a galaxy-wide consciousness merger, brief but powerful. Every being, from the smallest colony to the largest civilization, joined in a moment of shared existence. Through this connection, they could feel the potential of their combined future. As the merger ended, Martinez addressed the chamber one final time. 50 years ago, you tried to lock humanity away from the stars. Today, we've helped unlock the true potential of every species in the galaxy. That's not revenge. That's redemption." The Guardian's presence pulsed with approval. The experiment of consciousness has entered a new phase. Organic and digital, individual and collective, all working in harmony. As the assembly concluded, Wilson looked out at the gathered representatives, some physical, some digital, most somewhere in between. The galaxy had tried to banish humanity, but instead had forced them to create something greater than anyone had imagined possible. The age of separation was over. The age of convergence had begun. And humanity, once condemned as too dangerous to join the galactic community, had become its greatest teachers in the art of transcendence.